we can welcome our guests online. Are they ready? Okay, so everybody's here. So without further ado, I'd like to ask Mr. Motlatlego Sebola to come to, he's the acting manager in the Technology Transfer Office at SMU, and he would like to explain to us the purpose of today's event and introduce the speakers. Thank you, Mr. Sebola.
Thank you, Prof. Claes, and good morning, colleagues. Am I audible? Oh, thank you. Good morning once more, including our colleagues who are joining us online. My name is Motlatlego, as already indicated. I've been tasked with the simple job of telling you why we're here, beside eating. We are here, colleagues, to celebrate the World Intellectual Property Day, whose purpose is to create awareness around the world around the importance of IP. Already the importance of IP is being established in relation to its as a catalyst for socio-economic development. But it has gone beyond that. It has gone beyond that. We are at a level where we're looking at how technologies and innovations can contribute to sustainable development. So these days is celebrated annually. Each year there's a theme around which the celebrations center. And this year, the themes around sustainable development. We're not only here to celebrate this day, colleagues, we're also here to celebrate SMU. We're here to celebrate SMU. It's a celebration of the first for SMU, because SMU has just registered its first IP. SMU just registered its first IP. And this was not something that happened incidentally. There was a lot of efforts which we need to acknowledge to illustrate the effort and that is put in by the Research and Innovation Office to ensure that we have not this first one only, but many more others IP to come. Colleagues, those who did not know, you'll be happy to know that as we celebrate the World IP, SMU in 2023 was one of the 2 institutions in the country that participated in the World IP organizations funded training, where they identified 6 countries in SADC and identified the technology transfer managers of those in those countries to be trained on IP management and increase administrative capacity. So of the 26 institutions in our country, SMU was one of the 2 that participated in that. That's telling you that continuously there are efforts to ensure that we remain relevant and appropriate, so that the support that we provide to our researchers is relevant, is of international standards. We are not inward looking. As if not enough, Prof. Claes, Chair, again in 2023, SMU received the DSI, Department of Science and Innovation, and SARIMA Award on the most improved organization in research, management, and innovation. Surely, colleagues, you could see that as an institution, we are doing something in the direction of ensuring that innovation is taken to the next level. Oh, I was hoping somebody would clap hands that we scooped the 2023 most developed institution in relation to research, management, and innovation. So, colleagues, those are some of the building blocks that are worth celebrating, or milestone rather, that are worth celebrating, especially as we today celebrate the biggest achievement for the institution in the form of the first registered IP. I'm not going to be talking about all other people who have contributed, but as you might imagine, it could have never been a solo journey. There have been so many other people who have contributed that we need to acknowledge, especially colleagues from the schools who, when we invited them to come and help us with the evaluation of submissions, they brought their expertise from the various schools. Finance came in, Department of Legal came in to assist us in ensuring that as the Research Directorate and TTO, the service that we provide to our researchers is of high quality. So we really appreciate all the contributions from all those sectors. Those of you who don't know, we have in the TTO office two of the most energetic people. I have difficulties in managing them because you come up with an idea now. Before you know it, they have already implemented it. And one of the beneficiaries of that is our inventor, who when he came, one of us are a bit, some of us are a bit slow. Well, we're still trying to see how we can help him. But the team, the TTO office sponsor and Mama Vol already, they have spoken to the IP firm to say, yes, someone that we need to patent their IP. So we congratulate the efforts and acknowledge the efforts of the TTO team members. So colleagues, that's why we're here. We celebrate all those efforts, and the pinnacle of all it is the IP that we've registered. I don't know if I'm supposed to introduce the person here, but it will be a miss. It will be a miss if I don't. You'll still have an opportunity to come and tell us how we did it. But I thought maybe it will excite all of us if I were to tell you that amongst us, we have just one person who's wearing a white dust coat. Is it dust coat? A lab coat? Is it dust coat? This is our celebrity. Mr. Emmanuel Kinyonga, please, sir. No, I thought you'll stand up, they can see you. This is our first inventor who got the IP. He's accompanied by his supervisor, Dr. Whittaker. Thank you very much. Colleagues, we have invited, as you know, that there's an adage that says if you want to go and to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with others. So we subscribe to that adage as the TTO office and the Research Directorate. And we have therefore invited our colleagues with whom we are working outside SMU to come and brace this event as we celebrate our achievement. And these are the colleagues that have always been with us ever since the inception of the TTO. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our colleagues who are coming from two statutory bodies and one colleague who's coming from the Innovation Hub. We have Pabalelo Masite. Pabalelo Masite is the Director of Funds and Incentives Management Directorate within the National Intellectual Property Management Office, NIPMO, which is a specialized service delivery unit at the Department of Science and Innovation. Before Pabalelo joined NIPMO in November 2015, she was based at the Office of Technology Transfer at Tshwane University of Technology, and again at the Agricultural Research Council, and later on at the Technology Innovation Agency, TIA, as the intellectual property specialist. That's a journey. Once you're listening, right? Yeah, you got someone from TTO space here. Her passion and exposure in IP and technology transfer began at the National Research Foundation under the unit which was migrated into TIA, known as the Innovation Fund, where she worked as a candidate patent attorney. She also worked as a project specialist for Bank Sita and Telecom SA. Pabalelo holds an honors degree in computer science from Multimedia University in Malaysia, a law degree, LLB, from University of South Africa, and a postgraduate diploma in business project management from University of Cape Town. Her area of expertise includes intellectual property management, commercialization of IP, financial management, and project management. Colleagues, join me as we welcome Ms. Pabalelo Masite from NIPMO. Ms. Pabalelo. As we introduce you, thank you very much. Thank you. You still have a time to come and tell us what are you doing at NIPMO. Thank you, Babalelo. We also, colleagues, have in our midst here Ms. Portia Mabungu. Ms. Portia Mabungu is an entrepreneur. She's an entrepreneur. She's the founder of PRD Logical Solutions. She holds a diploma in information technology. Portia is the inventor of the Paratube, a retrofitted seat that fits in any chair with a built-in toilet using disposable, biodegradable bags, giving independence and dignity to its users. Me Portia Mabungu, there you go. Thank you. We also have colleagues in our midst, Dr. Phumlani Tetiani. Dr. Tetiani is a portfolio manager and acting head of the Health Business Unit at the Technology Innovation Agency, TIA. The Health Unit aims to enhance South Africa's global competitiveness in the health arena and to deliver socio-economic values through technological innovation in healthcare products and services, addressing the prevention, diagnosis, and/or treatment of priority diseases areas in the country. Through his role at TIA, Dr. Tetiani serves in the Scientific Advisory Board of the EDCTP Genital Inflammation Test for HIV prevention. He also represents the TIA on the steering committee of the Medical Device and Diagnostic Innovation Cluster, which is a partnership between TIA, South African Research Council, that aims to stimulate and intensify technology innovation within the medical device diagnosis sector. Prior to Dr. Tetiani joining TIA, he worked as a research scientist at Mintech for over 9 years, where he led the research and development of rapid diagnostic tests for human and animal diseases. Colleagues, please let's welcome Dr. Tetiani from TIA. As I'm walking away from the stage, Prof. Tlades, I must also inform the colleagues here that our inventor is one of the 3 beneficiaries who got money from TIA to fine-tune their invention. So TIA, we're very grateful for the funding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sabola. Thank you, Mr. Sabola. So I just want to, before we welcome Mr. Emmanuel Kiyonga to present on his invention, I just want to express, relay the apologies from the DVC. She will join us a little bit later and will then take the opportunity to also congratulate Mr. Emmanuel Kiyonga. So please, thank you, Mr. Kiyonga. Join the stage and tell us about everything that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emmanuel Kiyonga, and I'm delighted to be for our invention to be the first registered IP for the university. This is a historical moment, but it also comes with a lot of struggles and history attached to them. You know, I've spent 10 years in this institution. I came here when I was a 17-year-old in 2014, and I've grown up within the institution. When I arrived here, I didn't have a beard. So now I have a big beard, and I've grown up within the institution. Over the 10 years, I've done 3 degrees. I first did BSc in Occupational Environmental Health. I went on to do Bachelor's of Pharmacy, where I went on to do my Master's in Pharmacy. So I've seen SMU transition from where it was to where it is now. So it's been a long journey, and I'm so delighted to be the one whose IP is first registered. It's not by coincidence. I believe in God, and I believe in the power and the faith that God puts upon people. From when I was a young child in SMU, I had ambitions, I had plans, but also I had setbacks. And these are the biggest motivators for innovation. You know, when you face certain setbacks, it pushes you to do things beyond imagination. For example, I spend a lot of time in the lab. You can ask my supervisor here, Dr. Witik. I even sleep in the lab because I wanted to do something extraordinary. Because sometimes when you are facing challenges, the only way out is being exceptional. Remember, most people, some of us are not people with so many opportunities. In the years I've spent in SMU, for example, I was never funded. And that's one of the motivators. What can I do to be exceptional? And so we came up with this idea. Even my study, for example, when I registered my master's, my initial study was Atovaquone. Atovaquone is an anti-malaria drug, but my supervisors felt like it won't be groundbreaking because there's a vaccine for malaria. Then they proposed, why don't we target cancer and osteoporosis? So we came up with the raloxifene. So then we had to develop a co-crystal of this raloxifene. But crystallography is a very challenging subject because it's in crystal engineering. So many researchers are afraid of that route. So together with my supervisors, we took it head on. We knew it's SMU, and there was a lot of some stereotype about SMU, which we had to break. So when we developed this, we combined raloxifene with arginine. We took it through a certain process or method, which was explained in the patent. We developed this new form of raloxifene, and it shook us and it amazed us. When we did the DSC, DSC is one of the characterization techniques. I called Dr. Witik. I said, Doc, there is a new molecule. When Dr. Witika came and we tested DSC, we are seeing a single peak. Now in DSC, it's very difficult to see a single peak. Usually when you run, you get double peaks or triple peaks. So when we saw a single peak, I called Dr. Witika. He ran from his office to come and see this single peak. So it was so exciting. But it was not just about discovering these characteristics about the raloxifene. Now you've discovered this, how do you take it far? And I want to thank the university, the Office of the Research Directorate, and they put up platforms because so many students in SME have groundbreaking research, but they are still not aware of the platforms available. So I presented my work at the research day. Just like an ordinary, I submitted my article and it was accepted, my abstract, and I went and presented. When I presented, I was so shocked to win the research day. And Mr. Poncho came to me and said, Emmanuel, do you know your work has potential? I think he was with, they came to me, both of them. They say, you have potential for IP protection. I'm like, what do you mean? What IP? Then they started to explain. They said, give us your number. They kept calling me, engaging me. And then we kept meeting with them. They kept on selling this ideology, IP protection, patent. And it was so interesting. And I want to thank the university for these platforms. So when I won the SMU Research Day, I also submitted my abstract to the APSA. Now, APSA is the Academy of Pharmaceutical Sciences of South Africa. It is the highest level of pharmacy. That's where the top competitors and top professors in pharmacy, they meet once a year. So we went to Durban with this idea of ours from SMU, you know, with the stereotypes about SMU. We got there with our normal dress codes, we present, and we win still. So we took the first prize still of the young side. So it was not a coincidence. Yeah. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It was not a coincidence that the winner at SMU Research Day wins national. It's not a coincidence. So it means that SMU has got structures in place to promote research and to make the best out of research. We just have to keep the word out there because most students have groundbreaking research, even in pharmacy where I come from. I'm not the only one with excellent research. My colleagues, they have groundbreaking research. They have nano formulations. Others have amorphous formulations, but they didn't know of the platforms available. So I'm just glad that my research has been the first, but there is more that is yet to come. Can we give There is more that is yet to come. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just humbled by the institution. I've been supported, you know, in and out. If you can ask Mr. Poncho, even throughout the process of patenting, you know, one of the key moments, which was when Mr. Poncho called me in January, said, Emmanuel, come to the office. I think they had an online meeting with Mr. Yeah, you know, there was an online meeting, and then they said, what is your invention? Because they had forgotten. So I explained istraloxifene, hydrochloride solvate, hydrate solvate. So they put it in this other technology of theirs. I don't know, they know. They put it in this technology of theirs, and they say similarity must be, I think, around 40%. And my similarity was 0%. So he was excited and he said, no, this is not, let's try to change the wording. So they changed the wording and it still came up with 0 similarity. So they were so excited, they said, fine, for patent. Emmanuel, they were so excited and they excited me too. So one of the key attributes of research is, you know, when you are excited, you love what you do. If you can find us in our labs in pharmacy, we just love this thing, the ideology of SMU being on top. So this is a teamwork, ladies and gentlemen. It's not I'm not the only one who must take the glory. It's a teamwork from the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Director of Research, to the Office of TTO. It's a collective effort. So this is the first victory for SMU. In as much as it's our invention or our discovery, the university put up platforms for us. And I can tell you, if this trajectory continues, our university is going to be on top in terms of research. And so I would like to encourage the leadership and the management to keep up with the same ideology. I also want to thank the office of the TIA. The TIA also inspired a lot of motivation within me when they funded me with 650,000 rand to develop my IP further, you know, or my invention, our invention. Thank you very much, TIA, for believing in SMU and for believing. Please continue funding more students. If there's more money, bring it home. Thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to it.
Good afternoon, and I'm sorry that I'm late. I had interviews that were pre-booked, and with interviews you can never tell, and you can never stop people talking. But I want to welcome you all. This is actually really an important day for SMU, because this is actually our own first patent. And I remember when they came to tell me about it, we quickly went to the VC, and VC saying we need to go to TV, newspapers to announce this, because it is an important achievement for SMU. So I want to congratulate Emmanuel. Now, Tia, Emmanuel needs fees money. He needs fees money. He's actually at SMU, we are very nice people. He's not a registered student this year because he hasn't paid his fees, you see? So please help him to pay his fees if you can. So I will register him on the basis that you will work a plan so he can register for now, but he wasn't allowed to register because he didn't pay his fees. But when I spoke to the VC, he says, okay, fine, maybe whilst he's looking, but he never looks this one. I know him very well. He's always in my office, you know, when it's time for registration, because it's always difficult. But I want to thank Prof. Tahiri, your office, TTO. I never thought we would get here. I remember when we were making our stretch plan and operational plans, I said, no, don't put a patent there, because I was so worried that we would never get there. But what this shows us is that there's a lot that we have at SMU. It's just that sometimes we all need encouragement. I need encouragement. All of us need encouragement. All of us need an enabling environment so that we can achieve what we want to achieve. So I'm very, very happy that we have gotten into that level. And there's still a lot more that we are planning on doing, because at SMU, we don't just sit at patent. We manufacture, we go patent, we manufacture, it ends with the customer. So our next plan now is to see how we're going to go about getting your products manufactured and into the customer. So I think with those words, I really want to congratulate you. It's been, I never thought actually you were doing good work, because you always was in my office. So, so I think it was just getting some inspiration when it comes to my office. But listen, it's great. It is, you're going to go far. I wish you all the best, and we will do all the best we can at SMU to ensure that you become a success. And to all your supervisors, your lecturers, from the time you started here to your supervisors for this project, I want to thank them, because it's your idea and it's their idea as well. And they have given you that opportunity to excel. Not everybody gets that, but you have been given that. And I'm hoping that what you have been given, you will carry on and give it to others as well. So to the supervisors, I don't know the names of the supervisors. And Mr. Madani, okay, Bongani Madani, okay. So thank you so much for what you have done. I said, Prof. Seheri said to me, hey, we're going to have a small little function today. So next time I will take you out when I have time with Prof. Seheri. Ask Prof. Seheri to remind you. I will take you out and congratulate you from my office again. So all the best, and thank you very much.
We will now go ahead with the next presentation on our program, which is Ms. Pabalo Mosite is going to give us some feedback on the legislative framework from her position in NIPMO. Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of the National Intellectual Property Management Office, NIPMO. As Motlatlego has already alluded, it's a unit within the Department of Science and Innovation. So when you see Department of Science and Innovation, don't be alarmed. So when I'm speaking about my employer, actually is the DSI. And as part of program 2, that's where NIPMO lies. I'm not going to go in the interest of time. I'll try to summarize my slides as quickly as possible, but also relaying the message that I came here with. We came here to celebrate with you the World Intellectual Property Day, which was on the 26th of April. It's held every year globally, so, but I think when I was sitting there, I think I also need to congratulate the IP creator and the work that the TTO as well as the entire university has done. The last time I was here, I don't remember the year, but I vowed never to come back here again. Because at the time when I came, we were trying to lobby for a TTO to be started. And one of the professors at the time told us, no, we don't do research and development here. So if you really believe there's any IP, you come and identify it and tell us what are we supposed to do with it. And I'm like, how do you expect us to come? Imagine 26 universities, we go all of them, and we are only 12 in the office. For those who don't know, Ponzo used to be our intern, so he's still part of the family even now. So he knows the challenges that we have in terms of capacity and everything else in the within NIPMO. But I really wish to congratulate the work that has progressed so far. And hopefully there will be other much more things that will be achieved in the future. World IP Day is just to raise awareness about intellectual property. And there's no way you can talk about intellectual property without linking it with innovation and creativity. So as much as there are researchers who are doing what they are employed to do or what they are passionate about, there's somebody, or ideally there should be somebody who's overseeing that R&D to make sure that if there's any intellectual property, because not everything will translate or end up being IP, then it gets identified and then protected. So you don't have to do anything that is not within your sphere of what you are passionate about. So if my responsibility is to work in the lab, that's fine. I proceed with what I'm doing, but at the same time involve those who are knowledgeable in the IP space so that they can be able to advise you going forward. So intellectual property is, in simple terms, creations of the mind. It involves patents, your artistic works, that is your copyright, designs, and trademarks. So all of those things, they belong into the IP, different forms of intellectual property. And you, as an IP creator, you get given what we call IP rights. So those IP rights that are given to you is what stops people from ideally copying your work, and also ensuring that you get rewarded for your creativity. So the first speaker has already indicated that the theme for this year is IP and Sustainable Development Goals. So that theme comes from the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. So every year the theme changes. So for this year, they said it's IP and the Sustainable Development Goals. So those Sustainable Development Goals are actually, they come from the United Nations, which are aimed to transform the world in terms of 5 key areas. That is people, the planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships. Looking at where South Africa started, I'm old, but I'm not very old. There has been some policy progression from when I started at the NRF around about 2005, if I'm not mistaken. A panel which interviewed me, they kept on asking me. I thought it was an IT specialist position because I had already worked as a developer. Then they kept on asking me, what is your understanding about innovation, intellectual property? And I was like, okay. I had to say something, even if it didn't make sense, but I did say something. Fortunately, I was the one who was selected for that position. That's when I got exposed to IP. I was in another unit, but we worked together with the IP unit very, very closely. So every time somebody will come and say, I have a worldwide patent and I'm looking for funding, how can I say no when you are saying you have a worldwide patent? Only my boss at the time, I think some of you may be familiar with him, Dr. McLean Sibanda, said there's no such thing as worldwide patent. So he took his time to educate us in terms of what is IP, the different forms, what are the requirements and stuff like that, so that when somebody comes and they believe in themselves, we are not shaken, we understand what they are talking about. That's where my passion at the time grew, and then I registered for an LLB so that I can be a candidate patent attorney at that time. So looking at where the policy evolution of South Africa really is just to incentivize innovators and IP creators, but at the same time, while they are ensuring that the solutions that they come up with, they alleviate some of the challenges, social challenges that we may have. So different forms, and there's no prescription in terms of how should you protect your intellectual property. You decide, and based on whether it meets certain requirements, then you see how you want to proceed with it. But having said that, I think I liked what the IP creator, the first patent, the Emmanuel, your name, yes. There's no, as much as we talk IP and IP rights and innovation, let's not forget the importance of research and development, because that's where the crafting or the molding of what ends up in the market happens. I've seen a lot of things, I've seen a lot of ideas, but if there's no one who's doing research and development, then you might end up with a product that it doesn't make sense to the outer world, or as things are evolving, you're not aware that there are people who are doing great things somewhere in the world. So you need to work together with those people while they are in the lab, so that they try to assist you and guide you in terms of shaping your innovation going forward. So this slide, it shows just a snapshot of where we came from 1996 in terms of the Science and Technology White Paper. But I think for me, one thing which I can highlight is that NIPMO was formed in 2010. And NIPMO was formed as a result of what we call the promulgation of the IPR Act. It's quite a mouthful. So if you want to know what it stands for, Ponzo will tell you the exact meaning of what it stands for. So before the IPR Act, there were institutions or universities who were doing research and development, and then others, they were already ahead in terms of filing patents, designs, and stuff like that. But not everybody was on par. So when the IPR Act came in, they said that for all publicly financed research and development, if there's any IP which comes from there, it must be identified, it must be protected, utilized, and commercialized for the benefit of the people of South Africa. So it was not prescriptive in terms of how you should protect it or how you should commercialize it. It was like that. But as NIPMO, we rely heavily, because we are the implementing office of the IPR Act. We rely heavily on the OTTs to do that identification, protection, and then the commercialization. So if you look at most of the TTOs or OTTs, they will have your IP specialists, legal people, as well as commercialization specialists. So as and when the portfolio grows, or even at the beginning when you are filing your patent, they look at the market potential of what you are pitching. There's no point of filing for a patent or whatever just for the sake of it. There must be a plan. After this is done and dusted, what is it that we are going to do? And the IPR Act doesn't say you need to establish a spin-out company or you must license it. No. Whichever one, when you weigh the different risks when you are trying to commercialize, the one that makes sense the most is what you'll go with as an institution. So I think Emmanuel and the OTT are still going to work very hard on this one, because the journey has just started. But one of the objects of the IPR Act is that also creativity must be acknowledged and rewarded. So if I've come up with something, I need to be acknowledged. And if there's other rewards which will come at a later stage, I must also be rewarded. It mustn't just be the institution who benefits, whereas I die poor. So And also the other object is that small enterprises and BBBE entities must have preferential access. So when there's commercialization, the preference must be given to BBBE entities. So when does the IPR Act applies? So if for any IP which was created after the 2nd of August 2010, and if that IP was created as a result of research and development and using public funds, so whether it comes from TIA or it comes from SEDA or it comes from National Treasury or it comes from DHED, it's all public funds. So if your IP was created after the 2nd of August 2010 and you use public funds and as a result of research and development, the IPR Act applies. So currently we have around about 36 institutions that we are managing as NIPMO, because those are your universities, your science councils who does research and development, and they get a grant from government, from various government departments. So I'm not going to spend much time on this, but as the NDP, the National Development Plan, stated in 2013, innovation is the primary driver of technological growth and drives higher living standards. So as and when you look around, you see the challenges. You can be an inventor even if you are not based within a university. So it's just for you to understand that the various, it involves various stages of getting a product or getting a product into the market, and how do you protect yourself as inventor, and not also infringing other people's rights. So in 2019, the Department of Science and Innovation approved what we call the White Paper on Science, Technology and Innovation. So the reason why this white paper was approved, or it came about, is as a result of, if you look at different, let's say, funding agencies, government funding agencies, all of them, they have different mandates. They fund different things, but in essence, there was a gap in between. So you might find that TIA will fund this, at the same time DHED will fund this, but in another program. But although they are speaking to each other, there was no harmony in terms of working together. So they are trying to make sure that as government department, as government entities, we work together to ensure that the funding, there's efficiency in terms of how we disperse funds, how we fund different projects, because there are those clever people who in the past they would apply at TIA, and then at the same time they apply at IDC, but you find that it's actually for the same thing, and they were disadvantaging those who were not even aware that such instruments are there. So the white paper is trying to pull everybody together, as well as to address the innovation challenges that are within the country, because there's so many things that are happening, but because we work in silos as government departments, we are not aware of what is happening around us. I'm not gonna go through this slide, but as part of that white paper of 2019, there was also a decadal plan, which was approved in I think it's 2022. So that plan it will put all those white paper intents into action. So we'll start implementing what the white paper is saying, following what following the targets of the decadal plan going forward. So going back to the IP and the Sustainable Development Goals, there's 17 of them. So I'm not gonna go through all of them at the same time because these slides are available. Ponzo can share them. But for me, I think this one speaks the most to all of us. We know people who have been hungry. We've been there, some of us, and there is still a major concern when you look around us. And how do we then end poverty and hunger using IP and innovation as a tool that can help us? So those are the things that as we are celebrating, we need to reflect on to say, as much as I'm sitting here, there are people who are struggling, either with hunger, either with various diseases, and how do we make the most impact, or how do we address those social challenges? Yeah. All of these slides, they speak to the SDGs, which I'm not gonna speak most about. Okay. So I think as I'm about to close, as I've indicated, we manage all publicly funded universities and science councils. So what happens is that they report when they receive a disclosure to say there's Emmanuel working on the lab, this is his project, is still under evaluation. So 6 months later, they come back and say, no, but based on Emmanuel's invention, we think there will be a provisional patent which gets filed. And perhaps it might not be a patent, it might be a design. So when it gets granted, they come back and say, you remember that disclosure that we first reported? It has been granted and we have licensed the technology to Sasol, for instance. Fine, we still keep it under record. When Sasol gives them the royalties, they say, oh, by the way, we received 2 million from Sasol and Emmanuel got whatever percentage, and this the other percentage went towards further research and development within SMU, because it's not, as much as he's acknowledged as an IP creator, he's not the owner of the IP. So these are some of the companies which have been created in various science councils and universities. Some of them, the products are in the market. Some of them, they just started, but hopefully we are hoping that something bigger will come up from there. And the issue is that as much as they are trying to solve whatever problems that they were trying to solve, for instance, the Lumkani one was with regards to fires, shack fires, which were happening in Cape Town. So it gives a loud siren to the community to say there's a fire which has started somewhere, so that others are alert and perhaps maybe it can be stopped before it spreads. But at the same time, as much as they have created spin-out companies, those spin-out companies, we're hoping that it will be sustainable and add to employment within the country. So you need to look at things from a bigger picture, unlike saying, I want to do everything myself as an IP creator, because you can't. There's certain shortcomings or there's certain things that you don't have that others may be able to assist you with. I think this is my last slide. International recognitions which came up from South African IP. Maybe others are aware of Makosa. It's a traditional clothing. I think now it's branching out to the US and other markets as well, but it was a product of NMU as well as Shark Safe. It's been rolled out in Australia as we talk, to be a barrier for sharks in the ocean. So a lot of stuff are happening, and I'm glad that SMU is also on board, and hopefully going forward we will see much greater things to come. This one also, I mean, it differs. If you look at the ARC one, ARC, they deal with what we call plant breeders' rights. So you'll never see a lot of patents coming from ARC. You'll see plant breeders' rights, different varieties of fruits, different varieties of whatever crops. And they have also been recognized for their great variety, which is called Joy Bells. So it's currently being exported as we speak. So whilst we are sitting here and celebrating, let's also be cognizant of the challenges that we have and how innovation and IP can be able to contribute towards eradicating. Thank you.
I was tasked that another professor is not here. We should hand her over this. She will see when she gets home. Don't open now, please. She's gonna get home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Masite. It's now my pleasure to welcome Portia Mavungo as an entrepreneur. I'm not sure if she's going to talk about her personal entrepreneurial journey or entire journey. Okay, now we look forward to an interesting talk. Thank you so much.
Just gonna put this in my pocket. Okay. 10 times. That's fine. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This never gets easier, right? So every time when you come and do a presentation, no matter how long you're doing it for, it feels like you're doing it for the first time, which is a good thing because I think us as entrepreneurs, it humbles us and we take every opportunity as our best opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Portia Mavungo and I own a company called PRD Logical Solutions, where we focus on innovation for persons living with disabilities. Now, in 2011, I had a major accident. I fell off a 3-story building while holidaying with my cousins in Durban, and I broke my pelvis and my left arm. Now, I went through a deep depression because I needed my mother and my granny to lift me off the wheelchair and put me onto the toilet pot. I'm sorry, I'm short. To lift me off the toilet pot and put me off the wheelchair and put me onto the toilet pot. And it was not a nice journey at all. I mean, I was born independent, and now I was dependent on these 2 older people. So I came up with a suggestion. When I used to go for physio, when I was in hospital, I used to see the bedpan, I see the tubes, I see the catheter. And I thought to myself, why can't I merge everything together and make something simple for a patient to use? And that's when I came up with the innovation called the Paratube. Now, the Paratube, there we go. The Paratube is a retrofitted seat. It fits onto any standard existing wheelchair. It works together with disposable biodegradable bags, and it converts into a toilet while the patient is seated on the wheelchair. This is allowing the patient to be independent and retain their dignity as well. Because many times there are people that are living in rural areas or at home by themselves, or even in old age homes that people fall off the wheelchair and they break their pelvis and their lifespan becomes shorter. Also, one of the things that we've seen with all the other instruments that we have on the market, like our main competitor is called the commode. You can't sit for hours on end on the commode. I developed lumbar spine scoliosis from sitting on a normal wheelchair seat for hours on end. There's a lot of other diseases that can be brought up by sitting on a wheelchair for hours on end, and we don't see it as able-bodied persons, right? The only person that feels it and goes through it is a person on the wheelchair. So today's World IP Day, so I'm going to focus on that for the moment. I just wanted to share you my story, my innovation with you. So Tia started, yes, the great Tia, one of my stakeholders. They actually believed I went to Tia with my idealization. And that was in 2015. And Tia was like, they did give me the innovation, the money or the first R1 million for my idealization. But prior to that, I didn't know about Tia. I didn't know about the IDC. I didn't know about NIPMO. I didn't know about anything else because I'm thinking, come up with the innovation, get somebody to fund it, sell it off and become rich. I was not expecting to become an entrepreneur. I tripped over that. So what I've done is I was working at a telecommunications company and I was working night shift that day. And I'm like, you know what? Let me try one of the USA innovation companies. And this was called, I forget the name now, sorry. So anyway, they worked with NASA and Walmart, right? And they wanted to build my innovation for me. But then they said to me that I have to pay $6,000 to bring my idealization to life. And at that time, I wasn't even earning quarter of that money. So we signed the NDA. I went back. I'm like, I'm frustrated. The next day I go back. I'm like, going to the union buildings. I CC'd every single PA from every single minister you can think of. And I wrote them a nice email saying, listen here, I'm a Black South African woman. I have this innovation and I really want to bring it to life because I really believe we can actually save a lot of lives. And then 2 days later, the Minister of Science and I think Innovation and Technology that time replied to me and introduced me to the Technology Innovation Agency. I went through the whole due diligence of doing whatever I needed to do with them, and I finally got the funding to bring my idealization to life. I've been working 14 years on one product. Company has been registered for the past 8 years. 9 years ago, I can tell you right now, I was homeless. I had nowhere to go. I didn't know what to do. Thereafter, I had to start believing in my product. I think the only thing that kept me going my entire life was my innovation. And a lot of people thought that registering for your IP and working in your IP was a waste of time. That I just get this product, get to market, make money, and if you fall off the market, you fall off the market. And only now people are starting to realize why I spend so much of time on my IP. About 4 years ago, we finally got our SA patents. And a year ago, we finally got our USA patents, meaning that now we're one of the 0.01% of Black women in South Africa that actually own medical USA patents. And that is all thanks to TIA, the Innovation Hub, and even the IDC as stakeholders, HWC. It's just been, like Emmanuel said, and congratulations, Emmanuel. I know the journey. It's really brutal. And, you know, it's a journey that is worthwhile. It's a journey that's exciting. And it's really, really important to own your trademarks and your IP because there's different forms of IP. And a lot of us, when we start off, we don't understand and realize that, I mean, we own patents, trademarks on our logo, our names. I own the IP in my own personal capacity. And I'm looking forward to grow further. This presentation was actually assisted by us by Yale University in America because we almost lost everything last year. There was a big pharmaceutical company that we entered a competition with, and we were part of the 3 winners, and they were about to buy us out. But thanks to the collaborations that we have and the amount of people that you meet on your journey, that they decided to do a company valuation on us. And just with the IP alone, we were 10 times more than what they were going to buy us out for. So we were going to sell ourselves short. So it's a journey just full of passion. And what I'd like to say that if you're going to become an entrepreneur, you've got to have that thick skin. I mean, speak to your family, speak to your friends, tell them, listen, I might end up in Vista or I might end up on depression tablets. But at the end of the day, you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it. I mean, owning an IP for me, because my mother was a domestic worker, it's a great milestone for my name, for my family, for just being a woman also and being able to make a difference in this world. So thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Really, truly inspirational comments and stories here. Thank you so much to everybody so far. So it's now my pleasure to introduce then our last guest speaker, Mr. Phumulani Tetyana, as introduced before, from TIA. And I've also been personally privileged to be able to walk a little bit of the journey with everybody and Tia's engagement with SMU. So thank you very much. He's going to talk to us on researchers as drivers of innovation for socio-economic impact. Thanks. Did you know what is that? So this is just for the online guys to read.
Okay.
It's on. Okay.
Okay. Now, good day, colleagues. As I've been introduced, my name is Phumlani Tetyana. I'm from the Technology Innovation Agency. I think it gives me great pleasure to hear, our two innovators, speaking so good about the support that they would have received from TIA. It's hardly that we would receive or hear such comments coming from the recipients that would have, enabled or funded. One comment that our CEO once said was that we are the guys that lift the trophy. So you won't necessarily see TIA at the end, but we were there at the beginning when the tech was being conceptualized. And I think a great contributor to that is that we as TIA will normally fund early stage research. So we'll be involved at the stage at which whereby no other funder will be willing to come into that technology. So we are sort of de-risking the technology to make it attractive to follow-on funders. So when the follow-on funder comes with the big monies, then TIA gets forgotten, and then it is the follow-on funder that has provided big monies that is given all the glory. But congratulations to Emmanuel for your innovation. I certainly do hope that TIA might continue walking the journey with you and providing all the support that you might need further on. I would say perhaps continue interacting with TIA. I think your project might be sitting with our seed fund guys, because I know it's them that usually interface with TTOs at university level. So it might be the seed fund program, but they only support projects just for a certain level. Then once they are done with you, then they will hand you over to the sectors, which is us, which will fund further development of that work. I would say just continue, liaising with them so that at such time when they are done with funding, we can come in and see what sort of support we can, offer in order for you to continue, developing your project further. But yeah, so today I was requested to come and speak as part of the IP Day. Not a specialist when it comes to IP, and it is not my space. But I thought I could just touch a bit on, biomedical innovations and how those can actually be used, in order to grow our economy in terms of contributing to job creation and just growing, the broader medical devices and pharmaceutical sector, which will in turn, contribute to creation of jobs and, setup of industries, which we all know that will contribute to the growth of our economy. And I will also just touch a bit on some of the innovations that we would have supported as TIA. Okay. Some of the interventions that we would have set up as TIA, and also some of the projects that we would have supported, going forward. Okay. So I think the brief was that how can we leverage biomedical innovations to sort of contribute towards the alleviation of the triple threat as referenced in our NDP Vision 2030. So the three burning issues are issues of inequality, whereby we have about 10% of the population owning about 80% of the wealth in SA, and issues of unemployment, whereby we see that unemployment is rising as our economy is, slowly stagnating. So we have a high unemployment rate, especially amongst the youth, which is between 15 to 35 years of age, which is very concerning because those are the people that should be, contributing towards, the growth of our economy. Another issue is with regards to poverty. As I've mentioned, that only 10% of the population owns about 80% of the wealth within the country. So that shows that quite a lot of people, will be living under abject poverty. But as as you know, with any other form of innovation, I believe that biomedical innovations do have a role to play in terms of contributing towards, turning this thing around and being able to, set up interventions that we can use to try and get our economy growing and, creating jobs and, contributing towards, this trying to fight against unemployment. So just to touch a bit on biomedical innovation, so this will be innovation that specifically involves either medicine or other ways of improving healthcare. And this talks to advancements and breakthroughs in medical technology, devices, treatments, and procedures that improve healthcare outcomes, which enhance patient care and also address any unmet clinical needs. So these are often as a result of scientific research, as it has been mentioned earlier on, that scientific research will be the basis of driving such innovations coming out into the market. And this would also include technological developments and any interdisciplinary collaborations amongst the broader national system of innovation. So we believe that biomedical innovations can play a crucial role in addressing these challenges as referenced in our NDP 2030 vision, by improving healthcare access and driving economic growth, thereby enabling innovation in the key sectors of the economy. So with regards to biomedical innovations and our involvement as TIA, we look at two sectors or subsectors, which will be medical devices and pharmaceuticals. So as you might already know, that the biomedical industry is quite a very vibrant and dynamic sector or space within South Africa, which is basically characterized by a strong ecosystem of research institutions that includes your higher education institutions like SMU, your science councils like your CSIRs and Mintex, and the support that the government offers through entities like TIA, like the Innovation Hub and ITCs and all those, and also the involvement of industry or private companies in driving innovation and development. So as I've mentioned, the two sectors that we would normally play in as TIA with regards to biomedical innovation of the sector will be medical devices and pharmaceuticals. So looking at the medical devices market, so in South Africa, we've got quite a thriving and a growing medical devices industry with quite a number of companies, or SMEs that have, been established and stand, as high growth entities. This includes companies like, Cape Ray, Life Assay Diagnostics, your Cape Bio, Synapis, and, a whole lot of others that are just coming up and, are being supported at government level. And I think looking at the market, within South Africa, the market was expected to reach around 3.4 billion, US dollars by 2028, and that will include a compounded annual growth rate of 4.8%. And so the market has been experiencing a steady growth due to increasing demand for advanced healthcare solutions, and this is due to two main reasons, which is the high burden of diseases, that we have within the country. I think we've got quadruple burden of diseases, that we are currently facing, as a country and as Africa as a whole. But the second contributor towards the growth and the expansion within this market is the growing elderly population that we have, which further drives now the demand for medical devices and any sort of therapeutic interventions. And I think also one other factor that we have also tried addressing was that we do have companies that are doing local manufacturing, within the country, but to some extent, we have not really reached, full scale. We have only a few companies that are able to produce for the market, but most of, the devices or the products that we consume within the country are coming from external suppliers, either from India or China. So we have really flooded the market. And I think that creates also another opportunity to say, how do we then, as researchers and innovators, try and fight against that and, innovate in order to be able to have homegrown solutions to all the issues that we are facing as the country. So the second sector that I spoke about was with regards to production of pharmaceuticals. So similarly to the medical devices sector also, this is one of the high growth sectors that is expected to reach about 4.2 billion rands, in 2028 with an annual growth of 5.93%. And part of, growth within this sector is with regards to drugs, that relates to oncology. And there is quite, a surge that we have experienced now within, the pharmaceutical market, for the production of generic drugs due to the affordability of the existing drugs or accessibility. So as I've mentioned that with products that are coming, from India and China, and that we do not produce locally, some of these come at a very high price. And as we would know that the fiscus is slowly shrinking, and the government could not or would not be able to support, or would not be able to afford to procure, these therapies for all the recipients that they would need to supply to, within the country. So then this also puts, the onus on us as researchers and innovators to say, how do we then innovate to make sure that we are able, to have local manufacturing and production of these therapeutics, so that we are able to either decrease the cost at which you can be able to supply these into the market, and make sure that, there's equitable access, for all those that need these forms of support. So, as I've mentioned, there is quite an increase in the use of generic drugs, within the country. This is due to a number of factors, as I have mentioned, that there's a high cost, of drugs that are coming, into the country from your India and your China. And the government is trying, to put efforts in place to make sure that they promote also the use of generics in order to make healthcare more affordable and accessible. But as I've mentioned, that you only have, the National Department of Health that will have, only so much, of, funds to be able to procure and supply these therapeutics to, the product society within the country. So the onus is that if we are able to, as researchers, find, generics, being able to produce our own therapeutics and pharmaceutical drugs, then we can be able to make sure that these can be available at a reduced cost, and they are able to reach, the people within the population that they would normally afford, to pay for these, expensive products. So I've mentioned these two, subsectors, which is medical devices and therapeutics. And these, have been labeled as underdeveloped markets, within the country, which then offers, opportunities for us to be able, to innovate, for us to be able to drive, the development within these two subsectors. But there is quite a lot of, challenges that we are faced with that I feel government and other institutions are trying, so hard to be able to bridge the gap and provide support for us to be able, to innovate and produce these products. So the challenge is that, we have, noticed with regards to serious funding issues. Like I've said, the fiscus is slowly shrinking. Government does not collect enough taxes to be able to spend on therapeutics and medical devices that are coming from external suppliers. Also, the poor infrastructure, staff shortages within our public sector, and also just difficulties in accessing the market. This, I think, pertains also to our innovators locally. There have been difficulties in terms of them being able to break into the market. I think a perfect example of this will be, I think recently in the news, we saw one of our local producer of vaccines, where they had bid for a tender, but they were not given, that tender on the basis that, the cost at which they were selling, the vaccine to National Department of Health was expensive. And then there was an international supplier that was able to supply at a reduced cost. Now that puts us in a, in a very compromising, situation to say, here you are, you've got a local producer, yet you opt to go and buy from an external supplier. So we understand that the fiscus is slowly shrinking, and the department needs to be able to spend money, on products that will be able to reach, the broader, clientele. But also, if we're trying to encourage, innovators to be able to innovate, we will also need to be able to, support and actually apportion a certain, part of the market to our local guys that are able to produce locally. Otherwise, if we then make them compete against multinationals, then we'll be killing them at the end of the day. I think one other thing with regards to therapeutics, there's this production of active pharmaceutical ingredients, from India and China. We've got our own local producers, within the country that will bid for the same tender, as these suppliers. Now, the trick in here is that you are a local supplier, you do not produce your own active pharmaceutical ingredients, which you use to produce the product. Then you need to go and buy the very same API from an Indian company that will then come again and compete with you when you have the finished product. So this then can drive you off business, because this is an input that I need for me to produce a certain medicine to supply to the DOH. And yet the person that sells me the input also sells the finished product. So if they increase the API, then I'm out of business. I'm unable to go and supply the DOH. So it brings us really into a very compromising situation as a country in terms of being able to produce our own products that we use within the country locally. Okay, so I thought maybe let me just also touch a bit on some of the innovations that we have supported, or some of the strategic interventions that we would have set up as TIA to try and build a vibrant medical devices and therapeutics development ecosystem. So one of the interventions that we would have set up as TIA is that of the medical devices and innovation cluster, which is currently managed by the South African Medical Research Council. So this cluster was set up in order to create an integrated and cohesive ecosystem that would support and encourage development and growth, within the medical devices and diagnostic sector. So this aims to bring in, players from the industry, HEIs, researchers. It brings in your regulators like your SAPRA, like industry bodies like SAMET. So to create this enabling environment whereby innovators or researchers are able to leverage all support that can be found either from the end users, which will be the industry, or government institutions that will be providing the funding and enabling them in the development pathway. And we also have institutions like the SAPRA that will advise on the regulatory pathway or mapping that product will need to go through towards registration and commercialization. So we also have a similar cluster also for therapeutics, which is the API cluster. So what I just mentioned in terms of the production of APIs within the country. So this was set up when we realized that most of these active pharmaceutical ingredients that we consume or use within the country, most of them are coming from India and China. And I think that poses a security supply, within the country. If we see what would have happened with COVID, when things are on lockdown, you're unable to get your critical supplies that we need, for our sustainability, within the country. So we have set up also this API cluster to try and build up on the strengths, of SA's academic research labs, and to integrate forward to develop manufacturing capabilities within the country. So similarly to the medical devices cluster. So this also looks at the research that is being done at university and how we can support these to be able to produce either new methods of producing drugs or just setting up capabilities in terms of how do we upscale research that is already existing and make sure that this is nurtured all the way towards registration and commercialization. So this also involves interplay with your industry partners, your HEIs, science councils, and private players within the pharmaceuticals sector. So just other now projects that I thought would be of interest to you guys that we have supported from within the Technology Innovation Agency. So we have a project at CRPM in Bloemfontein that is developing load-bearing bioresorbable implants that we have supported, that is doing quite well. There's also another project that we are working that we have supported in Cape Town, a company called Liquid Medical, which is an SMME that is up and coming. So these guys are pioneering the development of novel ocular implants for treatment of glaucoma. Then the other company also that we are currently supporting is Cape Biotechnologies, which is also working on developing an AI platform that enables the discovery and validation of novel biological molecules from metagenomic data that is collected from South Africa's biodiversity hotspots. So also other innovations that would have supported that have made it into the market. So I've just listed 3 here. One is Kappa Biosystems that were developing next generation PCR reagents for DNA sequencing. So these guys have since commercialized, and I think last I heard of them, they were being bought out. I think they were bought out by Roche, for a couple of billions. And also during COVID times, there's 2 projects that we had initiated and supported. One from Cape Biotechnologies, which were trying to develop. So these guys were the first to actually produce COVID-19 reagents in the country, and they were supplying both South Africa and other countries within Africa as well. And then the other one is Medical Diagnostic in Cape Town that also developed COVID-19 antigen tests that were used within the country during times of COVID, which also supplied, government hospitals within the country, and also were supplying, within the African continent at large. So that is where I will leave my talk for today. And thank you. If there's any questions, I'll take them.
Thank you very much. I think time for questions then. What is the discussion? I knew you were going to ask a question.
I'm at a bad guy. And monitoring. I've got 2 questions. I think this is the most exciting one.
Just introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah.
It's on.
Will it be questions for the panel, or is it? Is it my question for the panel? Oh, okay. Sure.
So, look, when people speak about innovation, I jump. And yeah. So, I've got 2 questions. Your side, I think for almost all these people, but some of the comments. So for Emmanuel, I want to know what were your fears in terms of when you made the process of after they told you that this is actually an idea that can make money or we can secure the idea, also and they can always sell the ideas in your mind. What was your biggest fears? And then the fears in terms of securing sooner so that no one gets the same idea in the check. So, and then to pointers of this, I want to understand, I've always been in your office so many times, but I want to understand in terms of the IP, when are you, let's say, these are the postgraduate students, they have IDs with them. Only depending on tier to say we've got money to fund, or are we also saying after an ID, can you check for me? And if it's really not out there, when are you then ready to secure? Because you know my challenge with you. And because the reason I'm asking this, because I'm supervising students and I'm also working on that project. My risk is I'm a researcher. So the moment I take my data out there, then someone can calculate the data and bring out the idea. So I want to know when it's so that I can be able to come to office on time. And then Doctor, I heard you say you supporting the medical devices. So I want to know if like your mHealth app, your software is after the device. Yeah, I think that's my question. Thank you. And but also to congratulate the team members not only have questions. This is a great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Raigane Serebro. Just to answer your question. So normally how it works, we have what you call an intellectual property policy, which guide us as part of the framework. So the scope of the IP policy, it covers for postgraduate students as well as academic researchers. So if a student come up with an innovation, let's say he's doing a master's or a PhD, so the best bet will be to come to our office so that we can identify if there's a potential for IP from that research project. Then our office will do what we call a due diligence, which comprises of two primary components: the novelty assessment to determine if that particular idea is really novel, and the market assessment to determine if there's a market for that particular idea. So then we'll take it from there so that we can protect early before the student can publish his or her work. Thank you.
Just to add on what Dade Mampuru was saying, we have subscribed to a platform where we are able to check your project, if whether it exists anywhere in the world. That is when we check novelty of your project. I think Emmanuel spoke about it, that we checked and we got 0%. We said, no, let's change how we write it up on the program, and we still managed to get 0%. Then that's where we're excited. We knew that we've got something to work on.
Yeah, thank you. I think my biggest fear is this invention novel, really, because you can be working in the lab and then you come up with something, but if they run it through the novelty tests, you find out that it's not novel. So my biggest fear was that. So my fear was resolved by what they've said. They ran novelty test and they checked. And then my fear was, because I was afraid, what if it's not? Yes, when you run the single crystal XRD, which is the ultimate characterization technique for crystalline drugs, it indicated that it's indeed a novel, a new compound. But what if you run it in other tests? And when we did and got 0%, then I was satisfied. So yeah, that was my main fear. Thank you.
So your question was, do we fund software and apps?
Are they under the digital department, or where do they fall?
Software might be a bit difficult to place. I think my colleague from NIPMO might assist us there. But I mean, we do look at such. We have digital health as one of our focus areas. So the software might double between medical devices depending on what or where it is used for. But also we do look at digital health. So your apps, anything else related to software, that we would look at it. Yeah. So it's not excluded. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, with regards to mobile apps and devices, I think there's two aspects there. Is the actual hardware and the source code. So when you are assessing, let's say, your invention, so we'll look at the hardware part, whether it exists, whether it can still be patented, or perhaps maybe also look at issues of design as a form of protection. But on the source code or the actual software, South African patent law excludes patenting of software. So it's excluded, but you can protect it through copyright. Yeah, so you have to look at both simultaneously. So it might be that you protect this side through copyright, and then this side of hardware, either through a patent or either design, depending on whichever one, when you are doing your assessment, will be the best at that time.
I can also add to what Mr. Mampuru and Mama Bulu just said, especially in terms of reaching out. One of our KPA is to make sure that we create a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the university. So we make sure that we communicate with our postgraduate students. we always have a Entrepreneurship Friday. We present. And if there's anything like today, we have IPA, World IP Day event. They are all invited. So for them, it's just to make sure that they reach out. We are there at the 5th floor, S5201, if there are any questions that the postgraduate student are interested in. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Precious Chawalala. I am a biotechnology graduate, and I am a student who has a biosensor innovation. But rather, I have come to understand that it can also fall as an improvement because of, I think there's already a existing innovation of the kind of biosensor idea that I have. So my question is, I wanted to ask the chances for a student to get help or funding if ever that idea is not necessarily an innovation, but an improvement to an already existing innovation. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know if maybe the innovation that you have discovered was discovered from something that exists elsewhere. So if that's the case, we have what you call an incremental innovation. So innovation is the improvement of the existing innovation. So yes, that one can also be covered. And you can also come to our office so that we can have a look of that innovation so that we can have a better understanding of what it involves. I don't know if maybe it's something that you saw it somewhere when you developed that idea. Because if that's the case, then you have to engage with the owner of that particular idea or innovation so that you can acquire what you call a license to do the improvements on that existing innovation. I don't know if colleagues from NIPMO would like to add.
Are they satisfied?
Just to clarify, it was like because in final year we have a module called biosensors and biochips, and you're given a project to come up with an innovation for a biosensor or a biochip, and obviously used in the medical field. So for me, it started off as an innovation where I was like, okay, I see this becoming this. And then obviously as you go into research, you find, I could say technologies that were almost related. So that kind of made me feel like, oh, this could either be an improvement to these innovations or have an element of being its own innovation itself. So yes, that's why I was asking.
So I think the answer is really that these guys are there to help. I think no, really, seriously. I think Ponchu, Dave, Mr. Sabola, I think that's the issue. There is the office, they're approachable, and they can have a look at what you've been looking at.
Thank you. Indeed, as Poncho indicated, incremental innovation, but then maybe just to assist for us to be able to ascertain whether there's it's new or not. The institution has just acquired called PeltSnap. PeltSnap is a global-based IP database. Almost 90-95% of protected IPs would appear on the PeltSnap. So when you bring your idea, we are able to do that screening, which will assist us if there's anything existing. As Emmanuel has said earlier, we look at the similarity between what exists out there with what we have. And there's a threshold to say, if you have a 30% similarity, you still have the 70% uniqueness in terms of your submissions. So bring it, let us assess it, then we'll be able to advise better. Thank you.
Now, I'll be with you. So just to check, I think on the intranet, we've got the form where you submit your, what's it called? The disclosure form. So on the intranet, you'll find the disclosure form and you specify exactly there what you think. It asks a lot of questions on your innovation. And you complete that to submit it to the office, and they screen it using this database, and we'll be able to tell you very quickly what your innovation is like.
Okay, good day, colleagues. My name is Tepo Apani. I am a master's student in the Department of Biochemistry and Biotechnology. I have two questions. But before, congratulations, my brother. You've done us proud. You're showing us where to go. My first question is to the entrepreneur. What is it that you're doing to pay what everyone has done in your life forward? Because the biggest complaint is lack of funding, maybe, or youth unemployment. But because you've made it this far and you've survived so many hurdles, what is it that you're doing for those that are coming up behind you? Not to fall in the same holes that you fell in. And then to Tia, can you, or rather, what support do you give to students in universities who do not want to go through the route of doing an IP with the institution? Like, for example, I'm in biochemistry and biotechnology, but I also have interest in computer sciences. I do computer coding on the side. So if I have an idea of a software outside of my scope of research, how do I then approach you with that idea to say, can I patent this or that without involving the institution? Thank you.
I think the first,
or maybe it was, ladies first.
Can I answer two questions though? Okay. Let me answer your question first. I don't have many employees. It's just me, my business partner. What I do is, because I know we're at the starting stages, we have not launched as yet. So I outsource most of my resources. So that's why I have not too many stakeholders, but enough to capacitate my business. I have TIA for the funding. I have IDC in terms of business support. I have the Innovation Hub in terms of support for buildings and office spaces and internet. So what I do is I leverage on resources a lot more of the time. So by the time I get to a space where I am able to employ people, I will employ the best capacity and things that I will be able to pay for. So that's what I do in terms of employment. Yes, we get in there, but it's a strategy. And I just want to add to your question. A lot of the times, entrepreneurs, we don't realize the difference between innovation and inventing. So we don't invent anymore. It's already been invented. So what we do is with innovation, we look at what's existing and we take those components and make it better. Most of the time, the novelty of your product lies in what you have thought better for the product than what the product is actually on the market.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, so you're saying you've got an idea that does not really pertain to what you're doing at university, and you don't want to go to the TTO at university to request support. Okay, so we do have a unit or a division within TIA that looks at innovations that are emanating from, not from formal institutions like universities or an SMME. So it's called Grassroots Innovation Program. So perhaps you can approach that, they'll be able to support you. And I think that is one that interfaces with innovations that will be coming from people that are not affiliated with any other organization. Otherwise, if you're already placed or you're already part of the university, I would have advised that you go to your TTO office. I don't know whether they would not be able to assist you, as that will be outside what you're doing within the university. But if they're unable to, then I would say Grassroots will be able to assist you. We do have a program that looks at those innovations. And I think just to touch base on what the lady said also. So we as TIA would not necessarily want to see a patent in your hand for us to be able to assist you. Like she has said, that some other innovations might just be incremental. We might be looking at improving that device in order to sort of do something that the other one is not doing. based on a need. So if we look and we see that there is really a need for what you're doing, then we will support you, even if you don't have a patent. But you must not be infringing on another person's patent. You must be able to operate, within, with your device. So we can, support if we do see that there is really a need for you to embark on that and produce that device. Then we'll be able to offer you support. You don't necessarily need to come to us with a patent. As long as you are not infringing on another person's patent and there is a need in the market for what you're trying to do, then by all means we can support you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think if we can invite all our speakers also to lunch, then there would be a networking opportunity for everybody there as well. So I think it's safe to conclude the event, and I want to ask Prof. Seri to first, let me just get out of the picture. Thanks. And then I would like to ask Prof. Seri then to have the final word. Prof, we just need the microphone for you. Hang on. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah.
Yes. Good afternoon, colleagues, and our guests from TIA, Prof. NIPMO. Thank you very much for attending our World IP Day celebration at SMU. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Colleagues, please allow me also to congratulate our inventor, Emmanuel, and the supervisors. We are very, very proud of you. And this is a well-deserved achievement. As indicated earlier by our speakers, that this is our first registered IP. It will definitely be documented in the history of SMU. Thank you, Emmanuel. To our colleagues from pharmacy, this milestone is not just to celebrate your success as an individual or as a team, but it contributes to the larger ecosystem of the institution. We are establishing the SMU innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem, so it contributes to that. And also your patent will also inspire others, will foster collaboration, and pave the way for the future advancement in your space. We wish you all the best and fulfillment, and as you continue to mark this day in the world IP property. As we close today, this event, we reflect on the importance of protecting and fostering innovation, creativity, intellectual property. The theme of today, the set is around IP and United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, building our common future with innovation and creativity. And today we are celebrating the incredible achievements of our inventors, creators, innovators around the globe. And we also celebrate their groundbreaking ideas, creative works that enrich our lives and economic growth as we shape this future together. SMU, as we move today, let us remain committed in promoting the culture that values and respect the intellectual property rights. Let us continue to support the policies and initiatives that are available in the university, encourage innovation, reward creativity, and ensure that intellectual property in this institution is protected, respected, and utilized responsibly. And together we can build a brighter or more innovative world where intellectual property rights are safeguarded, creativity thrives, and everyone has the opportunity to contribute to the advancement of the society. And thank you all to our guests, our participants, to making sure that this event is a success. Let's keep the spirit of innovation alive every day and not just on the World IP Day. I thank you all.